So one of the things that motivated us to do is we set up a rural technology lab. This is in Mali where it works. We found out that universities there was actually no programming centers or formal programming at the university. So we said, okay, what are we going to start to do? So we kind of recreated GCore, and we basically taught them from scratch. We started with 40 people, ended with 8 women and men, how to do basic modern web applications. They're writing web apps, and they didn't even know what HTML was when we started. The idea is they can build the tools, which I'm going to talk about, and one of these tools is Child Count. Okay? So Child Count is a community health program, and it's really trying to target the primary causes of child and maternal mortality. Many of them are preventable. You know, it's malaria, diarrhea. So what we do is, you know, and the other kind of idea, which technology is, I think, really, really important, and this idea of making the invisible visible, is that we can count people, okay? You know that idea of everybody having a phone number? Well, every child now has an ID. You know, when you list out, typically if you look at a roll of, like, they call it vital events from a clinic, which is the number of births and deaths, it's a number. But that number should be a name. So once it's a name, you actually really start caring about that person. And the community starts caring more, because it changes their mindscape about this. So what we do with Child Count is we use community healthcare workers. Does everybody know what community healthcare workers are? I hope we get them in America someday. They're basically the army that's trying to provide primary health in these villages. They work in a community. They usually have about 100 households. They all have cell phones now too. So what they do is using a basic text message. So the blue is a text message. They can send in the name of the child, the mother's name, the age, and it comes back saying, okay, Fatima's in the system, number 28, child number 28, that's their ID. We know she's a female, 13 months old. So what do you do with that? Well, first, so what we did in the first site in Kenya is in 3 months we registered 95% of all children in the community, okay? So we went from like knowing roughly how many kids there were to actually knowing all their names. Then what we do is we provide that information back to the community, okay? It's a tool to empower communities to improve their own health. This is not information for us, okay? So this is like the paper dashboard each healthcare worker carries. It has a list of all their child's names, their age, and since we're generating the system from the computer, the age in months. So how old is the child? So in early childhood development, that's really important because, you know, when a child is 6 months old, 12 months old, they need vitamin A. When they're 9 months old, they need measles. When a woman's 8 months pregnant, you know, you can't look at it at a date and figure that out, okay? So this provides you that kind of planning, kind of dashboard ability. We can see the last time they had a nutrition screening. We can also see the last time the child was seen. So one kind of powerful example of that was we did a measles campaign right after we got all the children registered. We were able to pull out the 8,000 kids out of 9,500 because we had to leave the 0 to 9 month old kids out. We were able to print this sheet of paper out. The healthcare workers would go out and systematically find these kids. If you've ever seen a vaccination campaign, it's typically a bunch of people come into a village, they bring a bunch of candy out, kids come running in, then you chase the chickens around, you try and find them, and then you vaccinate them. So what they do now is they just basically text these IDs in, and then halfway through the week we're able to find the kids, like, okay, there's some missing, and we go house by house and find them. And basically, whenever you have this kind of baseline, you find out about deaths, you find out about kids that were missing, so we register a bunch of new kids. You're in fact really doing an audit of the community, which is a really important thing. And we can do, you know, kind of treatment support. So here's an example of doing malaria management. So cell phones are not the only amazing technology out there. This child is receiving a prick of blood and getting a rapid diagnostic test. Okay? So this basically allows you to see, test at the household, whether or not the reason why that child has a fever is actually because of malaria. Typically, at least in Africa, if a child has a fever, everybody always assumes it's malaria, and they treat it for malaria. It could be meningitis, it could be many other things. So A, you might not be treating the actual illness, which is a bad thing, or you could be overdosing, putting too much malaria medicine out in the community, which breeds resistance. So what we do is, we're using another SMS, you just put in the form, MRDT, which is malaria rapid diagnostic test. Number 28, which is the ID of the child. Was the test positive? Yes. Was there a bed in their house? No. The symptoms, we send it off to the child count system, which is a computer, basically a phone plugged into a computer. It comes back with a diagnosis, since we know the age of the child, with instructions for the healthcare worker. So we're collecting data as we're doing service delivery, okay? Not vice versa. So this provides some kind of basic treatment support for the healthcare worker. The CHW has actually shown that mothers actually love to see the diagnosis. It's like they actually believe in the phone more, unfortunately, than healthcare workers sometimes. But that'll change. And then we can do things like nutrition screening. So this child's getting a MUAC measurement. They weigh them, they check them for. So you can take that logic and apply it to. It's really just a good example. You can apply this to agriculture. You can apply this to really any kind of service delivery you want. You can register things, report on that, goes into a website, give that information back to your community. That's what child count is at a root. So how does it all come together? So we have the Real Technology Lab. You know, the idea is they're going to be the ones that come up with the next child count, not people like me. You know, I'm a technologist, so I'm already realizing that health, I don't know what I was doing in that case. But, so they're going to come up with the next big idea. So, you know, I'll lose whenever my programmers, you know, these guys hold the future of Africa in their hands. They're more than capable, they have more than enough potential. But there's still going to be a gap where people are going to ask people like me to lead the way. So we have to figure out how to get them kind of, you know, the keys to the car in their hands. But that's capacity building. That's using the money we have to build really good tools that they can then, you know, modify for the use. So I kind of want to leave my kind of two parting thoughts. You know, one of them, which I really like, is our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter. Martin Luther King. So I know I was a little bit cynical about earlier about saving the world, but you do your thing to make a difference. And if you don't live your life that way, you're going to regret it. And my favorite one is, if you think you're too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito. Thank you guys.